It was one of the most enduring royal partnerships in modern history. Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, were married for more than 73 years. From the moment they wed in 1947, their union became the backbone of a monarchy that would weather wars, scandals, jubilees, and generational change. And yet, throughout those decades, one question quietly persisted among royal watchers and insiders alike. Why did the Queen and Prince Philip spend so much time living apart? The narrative that they led separate lives has never been officially confirmed or denied by the royal family. In fact, the image carefully projected to the public was one of unity, strength, and mutual respect. But those who paid closer attention to court life, official schedules, and the geography of royal residences noticed patterns that seemed to suggest a different rhythm beneath the royal surface. At Balmoral, they had separate bedrooms. At Windsor, they maintained distinct wings. At Sandringham, Philip reportedly spent long periods in the Wood Farm cottage away from the main house. And in the final years of his life, he famously retired to Wood Farm full-time, living in relative seclusion while the Queen continued her duties at Windsor and Buckingham Palace. This physical distance has long fueled speculation, from theories of marital strain to simpler, more pragmatic explanations. But until now, there has been no direct comment from within the royal family about what this arrangement truly meant. That may have changed recently, according to growing reports of a quiet remark made by Princess Anne, the Queen's only daughter, during a private engagement. Though not captured on camera or officially released by the palace, the comment has reportedly circulated among royal correspondents and was interpreted by some as a subtle insight into her parents' long-standing arrangement. Anne, known for her discretion and forthright nature, is not one to indulge in gossip or reveal private family matters, but her decades-long experience within the institution and her close relationship with both parents gives her a rare and credible voice. Those present claim she referred to her father's later years not as a retreat from the Queen, but as a form of mutual respect, a recognition that they functioned best and were happiest with space to pursue their own routines and roles. If true, the insight is consistent with what has long been assumed by many palace observers. Prince Philip was a man of action, of precision, of independence. A naval commander by career and temperament, he chafed against the ceremonial constraints of royal life. He took pride in carving out a role for himself, a role that did not overshadow the Queen, but supported her from just behind the spotlight. His life was defined by duty, yes, but also by self-discipline and personal agency. In contrast, the Queen was the embodiment of continuity. Her schedule was rigid, her responsibilities unrelenting. She adapted to the role from the moment she ascended the throne in 1952, and her life was never entirely her own again. The rhythms of the sovereign and the consort were never identical. Their ability to maintain a marriage across such divergent responsibilities was in many ways the true testament to their bond. And yet, as many note, theirs was not a fairy tale romance frozen in amber. It was a partnership forged over decades, often under intense public scrutiny. Prince Philip's early years as consort were marked by moments of tension and friction. He struggled with his diminished status, famously walking a few paces behind his wife. He had to give up his naval career, a loss he never entirely overcame. But in time, he found his role: modernizer, supporter, father. He launched the Duke of Edinburgh Award, championed environmental causes, and took on more than 22,000 solo engagements. He walked beside the Queen in every state visit, every coronation anniversary, every family milestone. Their relationship, it seems, was defined not by constant closeness, but by deep understanding and a mutual agreement about how best to navigate life in the institution. So when Philip chose to retire in 2017, It wasn't entirely surprising that he selected the relative peace of Wood Farm at Sandringham. The Queen understood. She remained in Windsor or Buckingham Palace, continuing her engagements and correspondence. He preferred the quiet, the simpler routines, the books, and the solitude. Occasionally, they would be together again for holidays or events, but more often, they were apart. That physical distance, misinterpreted by some as emotional withdrawal, may in fact have been one of the most sophisticated expressions of their partnership. Rather than adhering to an outdated model of royal cohabitation, they adjusted the rules to suit who they had become in old age. It is important to note that none of this has ever been formally confirmed by Buckingham Palace. The monarchy continues to operate under a code of discretion. Family matters, especially those involving the late Queen and Prince Philip, remain closely guarded. Nevertheless, the suggestion, however subtle, that Princess Anne acknowledged this arrangement as a conscious, respectful decision does shed light on how the royal family views its own narrative. Not as a scandal, not as a sign of strain, but as a quiet reflection of personality and purpose. That may disappoint those looking for sensational revelations or dramatic conclusions, but it may also offer a deeper, more human understanding of the monarchy. After all, this was a couple who married young, ruled together for over 70 years, and endured unimaginable changes, from global upheaval to personal loss, from Diana's tragic death to the recent fractures with the Sussexes. They did not perform their marriage for the cameras. They lived it behind closed doors, and in their later years, behind different doors. And perhaps that, too, is part of what made their union work. There is a lesson in that, one that applies beyond royal walls. That enduring love may not always look like closeness. That a successful partnership, particularly in later life, can be shaped by space, by understanding, and by allowing one another to be exactly who they are. Prince Philip died in April 2021, just 2 months shy of his 100th birthday. His funeral was a stripped-back ceremony at Windsor due to pandemic restrictions. The image of Queen Elizabeth sitting alone in black, masked in the chapel pew, remains one of the most haunting photographs of her reign. They had been married for 73 years. His absence, though not sudden, left a void that was deeply felt. The Queen herself passed away just 17 months later, in September 2022. She had outlived almost every monarch of her time. Her reign was the longest in British history. Her death closed a chapter not only in the monarchy, but in the nation's collective memory. Now, in the years since their passing, questions remain. About legacy, about memory, about the stories we still do not know. But if Princess Anne did indeed offer this glimpse into her parents' understanding, this explanation for why they lived as they did in their final years, it may stand as one of the most quietly powerful truths to emerge from an otherwise opaque institution. That it wasn't distance, but respect. That it wasn't scandal, but choice. And that the greatest royal story of the 20th century may have ended not in fairy tale closeness, but in the dignified grace of understanding when to stand together and when to step back. What we do with that story, how we interpret it, may shape the way we understand the monarchy itself, as not just a stage, but a series of private lives, each one negotiating their place beneath the weight of history. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden world of the Crown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us here on Crownverse, where royal history lives on.